back to another upSchool video. In this video, we're going to be trying to explain algebra in a more different, simple way. I'm going to be briefly explaining what algebra is, the purpose of algebra, and just an easy way to think about algebra. This isn't taught in textbooks, but basically I'm going to give you guys the fundamentals of algebra. When we hear the word algebra, we just tend to get a bit scared and we think that algebra is something different and it's a very hard mathematical concept, but another word for algebra is just puzzles. That's what algebra really is. It's just puzzles, but it's just a fancy mathematical term of describing puzzles. Alright, we have an unknown value in a mathematical equation and we're supposed to find it, and there's different methods of finding those unknown values, and that's literally what algebra is. There's also a couple of important terms of algebra which I want to straight away explain so that algebra will just be a lot easier. And it's just three important terms, and if you just understand those, then algebra will just become, it won't be hard, it'll just be something easy, just a puzzle, as I said. And the first important term of algebra is term. Yeah. In algebra, the word term is just any number or a block of numbers being operated in a mathematical equation. So, for example, we have the equation right here, 2x plus 7. Alright, 2x plus 7. So the term in this equation, there's actually two terms, but the first term is 2x. How is 2x a term? Well, a block or any number that's being operated is a term. 2x is a block of numbers, 2 and x. We'll learn about x. X is technically a number, but we'll learn about that later. But 2 and x combined, it creates a block of numbers. And as 2x is being operated, as it's being added, it's the term of the equation. 2x is a term. Another term of this equation is 7. 7 is a number that's being operated as it's also being added. So 7 is also the term in this equation. Another important term of algebra is a variable. And by the way, just straight off the bat, algebra is basically operating these terms. We have to multiply these terms, we have to add these terms, and that's literally what it is. But there's also some other problems that we have to face while adding up these terms, and those are variables. Whenever we're adding two numbers, like let's say 2x plus 5 maybe, we can add 2 plus 5, but this x, what is this x? Well, x is just, it's a variable. X is known as a variable. A variable is just any term that doesn't have a fixed value. This is the most important point. It does not have a fixed value. What does that mean? It means that x, it's not any value. It's not 5, because if it is 5, then it will just be 2 times 5, and 2 times 5 is 10, and then we can do 10 plus 5. But it's not 10 in this equation. X is just an unknown value, which in algebra or in our puzzles, we have to find out this x. And in order to find out our x value, we have to do different things. It doesn't have to be x, but x is the most popular variable. But you can add like a, or you can add n, 2n plus 5. But basically, instead of saying 2 times unknown value plus 5 is equal to something, it's just much better if we just denote it as a lowercase English letter. Alright, so next is a constant. So let's go back to this equation, 2x plus 5. Well, now we can sort it out ourselves. 2x and 5 are the terms, and x is the variable. And the constant is basically a term that has a fixed value. It never changes. Or in other words, a constant can be like 5. Or it can be like negative 9. Or just any number that doesn't consist of a variable, or it doesn't consist of any lowercase unknown value is known as a constant. So in this case, 5 is the constant. So in algebra, basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to add, subtract, multiply, divide terms. And in the terms, we can either have variables or constants. So it's just basically playing around with numbers. Algebra is just playing around with numbers trying to find out the unknown values of our puzzles. So terms is, like, the word term is kind of a broad topic, and in algebra we have to kind of, terms can be classified into different things. In fact, terms can be classified into terms, factors, coefficients. Alright, so these are some other important terms. As well as terms, we also need to learn about factors and coefficients, because they're also very useful for finding out our puzzles, or solving algebraic equations and expression problems. So we already learned what a term is. A term is any number being operated in a mathematical equation. And now let's learn about our new topic, factors. Factors are the numbers being multiplied to equal the term. And try to focus on multiplied, because, well, we'll just learn about this in an example. 3x plus 2. Alright, so 3x is equal to 3 times x. You probably should have known that. But basically, whenever it says 3x, the gap between 3 and x, it's supposed to mean multiply. So 3x is equal to 3 times x. 3 and x are the factors of the term 3x. Why? Because they're two numbers. 3 and x are two numbers that are being multiplied to equal the term. 3 times x are being multiplied to equal 3x. So 3 and x are the factors of this equation. And the next thing we have to learn about is coefficient. So what's a coefficient? Coefficient is the numerical factor of a term. What does that mean? So it's a numerical factor. So as we can, we've already been referred to our previous example with 3 and x. The numerical factor, or it's the constant factor, or just the factor that only consists of a number, is 3. So 3 is the coefficient. Another example that we can take is, so we have 2y. 2y is a term, and the factors of this term is 2 and y, as 2 times y is equal to 2y. These are the factors, and the numerical factor, or the number factor, is 2. So that means 2 is the coefficient. So this is kind of a broad topic, and the word term, we've kind of learned about the different terms of a term, the different terminologies of a term. And now we can actually classify any equation into the terms, factors, and coefficients, right? We can start off with our expression. Or just what is our equation that we're trying to do? Equation is something that consists of an equal sign. Expression doesn't. We have 2y plus x squared. Alright, that's our expression. Now let's try to divide this expression into terms. What are the terms of this expression? Well, 1, we have 2y, and we also have x squared. Now let's try to classify these terms into their appropriate factors. So in 2y, the different terms in 2y are 2 and y, as 2 and y equal 2y, and for x squared it's x and x, as x times x is equal to x squared. So we've classified an expression into its appropriate terms, and those terms, each of those terms, into their factors. And now we can also find out the coefficients. The factors 2 and y, the numerical factor 2, x and x. The numerical factor, well, since it's x and x is really unknown, x is being multiplied by nothing, so it'll just be 1. So the coefficients is 2 and 1, the terms is 2y and x squared, and the factors are 2 and y and x and x. And this is the expression. So we've just classified an expression into its appropriate terms and factors. And classifying it in this method is known as a factor tree. This is a very important concept. So try to learn how to draw this factor tree. It's pretty easy. It's just an expression, terms, and factors. And you kind of branch it out as if it's a tree. And yeah, so I actually have some practice questions for you guys to understand the important terms of algebra. Hopefully now you've understand algebra in a more simple way. Algebra is just adding and multiplying terms. And each terms can have variables and constants. And in terms, there are different factors and coefficients. And these are all the things that we face in our puzzles, which in the end we're trying to solve. So I have some practice questions for you guys. 3y cubed minus 9. So what are the terms of this equation? Well, answer, the terms of this equation are 3y cubed and negative 9. Whenever this is a negative, try to incorporate it into the term. So 3y cubed and negative 9 are the terms of this equation. 2y, I feel like I'm repeating 2y over and over again. 2xy plus 8z. What are the factors in this equation? Answer is that the factors of this equation are 2x, y, and 8 and z. Alright, so the last question, which I want you guys to post in the comments down below. Which is a pretty easy question. 2, I'm repeating 2 too much. 8z squared. What is the numerical coefficient of the term 8z squared? What is the numerical coefficient? Post your answers in the comments down below. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys understood algebra in a more easy way as we were planning on doing. This is upSchool signing off. Greatness starts